Thank you very much. I thought I would commence my oration today with some quotes that pretty much sum up who I am. I think you can see up here some pictures, and I'm made up of not just my work, which I will go into, but also my family, my wonderful university that I work at, and also the things that I enjoy. So first, regarding my family, I think the best ever quote was from my mother. She's actually quoting Mickey Mantle, but she's in the green jacket in this picture up behind me. And she basically, at her 90th birthday, said, if I knew I was going to live this long, I'd have taken better care of myself. Mum's now 95. She's still very much switched on. She was an amazing matriarch. She was a flight sergeant during World War II, responsible for deploying barrage balloons. She survived bombings in London during the war, and then she got married, had 4 children, and her first husband died. She was in Belfast at the time. She had 4 children to raise, and she didn't work, and she subsequently met and married my father. And then he moved the whole family to Canada, where I and my brother were born. We then migrated to Australia some years later with Dad, Mum, and the 6 children. The result is this wonderful, extended, blended family that you can see in this picture. And we're all Australian through and through, including my immediate family, circled in the picture. You actually, no, somebody's removed the circle. But my immediate family, believe me, is in this picture, including my wonderful husband, Peter, who's here today. My children, Emma and Jessie, 2 talented, smart young women. So Mum has always been an enduring role model in all of our lives, and in particular, really demonstrating hard work, resilience to all of her children. My dad, I think, who died over 20 years ago, was always the one who said to me, you're going to have a career. You're going to go to university and you're going to have a career. You probably won't get married and have children. So that was the time. But I'm very glad that I proved him wrong on one thing and right on the other. So my second quote has been attributed to Confucius, although I must say I haven't really checked its veracity. And it points to my abiding belief in the importance of enjoying what you do at work. So I think Confucius said, choose a job you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life. And I think that I can say that in my role as Pro-Vice-Chancellor in the Research Division at the university, but also in my role as Professor in Biomedical Engineering, I love what I do. I've had the great fortune of working with fantastic people, working in 3 different universities, but primarily at UNSW, working with industry throughout my career, starting with my PhD. I worked with 3 different companies during my PhD. And also, really, I think I've been very lucky to actually work with a great deal of researchers who also really value that industry-university connection. I think the final quote, and this comes to the boat, and we'll explain the boat, was uttered by Rat in Wind in the Willows. But also my mother used to say this all the time because I grew up on boats, and that, I think, the tinkering and the understanding how sails work was part of really the driver for being interested in science and technology. So believe me, my young friend, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, half so much worth as doing as simply messing about in boats. And I'm eternally grateful to my dad, who started me on boats when I was 2 days old, and my husband, Peter, who shares my love of boats, and thankfully these days carries out most of the running repairs. So thank you, Peter. But that's enough about me. I think I'd like to move on to a few of the challenges in the sector. So my sector is obviously the higher education and research sector, and more specifically, my area in health technology is in biomaterials and medical devices. Over the years, there's been a real decline in funding, both public funding for basic research through to investment in proof of concept work and startups. And I think this needs to be addressed. This is a real challenge that we have to face. In education, we have excellent, high-quality, structured academic education across Australia. I think we do, however, lack a really systematic approach to developing career and professional skills in all of our graduates. And thirdly, in terms of gender equity, this is an area I'm very passionate about, the challenge of increasing women at senior levels, in particular in academia and in particular in STEM disciplines, are things that we need to pursue. It's a persistent problem, and we need to pursue it with persistence. So some examples of some evidence-based strategies up here on the slide. And what I thought I'd do is I'd actually talk a little bit about evidence-based strategies that I myself have been involved in as examples of how I think I can contribute to ATSE going forward. So the first one that's up there you can see is the Australian Brain Alliance. This is actually an initiative of your fellow academy, the Australian Academy of Science, and this group was actually formed with the sole purpose of political lobbying to increase investment in brain research and neural technologies. This is something that I'm spending my time on now. It's a very new group, and I'm on the executive of the ABA, and we've got an amazing group of people who've come together to really work out strategies for raising the profile of this area and lobbying the government. Second, I'm committed to building engagement with our stakeholders, not just in industry, but with government, CSIRO, and obviously across all of our universities in Australia. This is really to support development of graduate and professional career skills in tandem with the technical excellence that we integrate in our education. I think this is really beautifully illustrated through the newly launched, just this week in fact, Industry PhD that we developed in collaboration with CSIRO. This program, called the Ieee Phd, is distinctive in that it engages industry from the very beginning through the whole life cycle of the PhD, starting with the interviewing and selection of candidates, moving through to defining the problem, and right through to hopefully translating some of the findings into industry. This will form a framework for Ieee Phd programs that I hope CSIRO will apply across a broad range of Australian universities. Third, I'm passionate about ensuring we take real actions to nurture and promote the best and brightest, making sure we use the whole talent pool available, not just 50% of the population. My role at UNSW in the leadership of the Athena Swan program is a great example of how we can actually develop and implement evidence-based strategies. And it's something I look forward to carrying into my activities with ATSE. Finally, I would really like to thank my proposer, Professor Graham Davis, my seconders, and all of those who supported my fellowship application. Of course, the Academy for the great honour of being allowed to come into this wonderful group of fellows, and I'd also like to acknowledge my fellow fellows who are new fellows today. I look forward to contributing to ATSE through what I've discussed about today, and also through other endeavours into the future. Thank you.